Coming up on Network Africa, daughter of anti-apartheid struggle icons Nelson and Winnie Mandela, Zindzi, laid to rest in private ceremony in Johannesburg. The World Health Organization raises concern over the Ebola crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Plus, over 2,000 health workers in Ghana test positive for COVID-19. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoke. We begin in South Africa, where the ambassador to Denmark and daughter of anti-apartheid struggle icons Nelson and Winnie Mandela, Zindzi, has been laid to rest after a private ceremony in Johannesburg. Her son, Zondwa, confirmed that his mother had tested positive for COVID-19, but the cause of her death on Monday this week is yet to be unveiled. Speaking at a virtual memorial ceremony organized by the ANC Women's League in our honor last night, President Cyril Ramaphosa said the legacy of Zindzi Mandela lives on because she wasn't just a child of struggle icons, but a fearless freedom fighter in her own right. Her sister Zenani, who is also a diplomat, was also present at the ceremony. Ambassador Zindzi Mandela was the South African ambassador to Denmark, awaiting redeployment to Liberia before her death. She is survived by 4 children and grandchildren and was buried beside her mother, Winnie Madikizela Mandela. To other stories, the U.S. is willing to consider lifting an arms embargo and targeted sanctions against South Sudan if a number of conditions are met. Now, that's according to its outgoing ambassador, Thomas Hoschek. The conditions include a reduction in level of violence and corruption in the system. The UN Security Council renewed the arms embargo in May for a period of 1 year to stop the flow of weapons to armed groups. The U.S. government also imposed its own sanctions against some South Sudanese senior government officials, including former First Vice President Taban Deng Gai. Ambassador Hoschek said when the resolution was adopted at the UN Security Council, a new language in the resolution talks about establishing benchmarks, establishing peace building that will eventually lead to the lifting of arms embargo. U.S. authorities have alleged that former Gambian President Yahya Jammeh used bribery proceeds and stolen government funds to buy a mansion in a suburb of Washington, D.C. In a lawsuit seeking to seize his property, the Justice Department said in a civil forfeiture complaint filed on Wednesday that the West African nation's longtime dictator conspired to launder roughly $3.5 million in corruption proceeds through the purchase of a lavish home in Potomac, Maryland. Jammeh was 29 when he took power in a 1994 military coup. He ruled over Gambia for more than 22 years. He and his wife, Zine Jammeh, fled into exile in Equatorial Guinea after he lost the December 2016 presidential election to now President Adama Barrow. During his time, Jammeh acquired at least 281 properties during his time in office and operated more than 100 private bank accounts directly or through companies or foundations in which he has shares or an interest. That's according to the Justice Department's civil complaint. To the crisis in Mali, now the Prime Minister has apologized for excesses by security forces who opened fire last week on anti-government protesters, but rejected opposition demands that President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta resign. Last Friday, the latest in a series of mass protests in the capital Bamako against Keïta turned violent, with security forces firing on protesters, some of whom had occupied state buildings. Clashes continued for several days, with at least 11 people killed in total. Prime Minister Boubou Cissé, in an interview with France 24 television last night, said prosecutors had opened an investigation into the violence. Unfortunately, there were excesses, he said. What happened is very regrettable. To health matters now, the World Health Organization says it is concerned about an outbreak of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which has become the largest ever in the country's northwest region. 56 cases of Ebola have been recorded in the country's Equator province since the latest outbreak was declared in June. Now, the WHO's regional director, Mashidiso Moeti, says that some of the cases are in remote areas which are difficult to access. According to her, lessons had been learned since a previous outbreak in the same province in 2018, and that more than 12,000 people had been vaccinated in the past 6 weeks. Now, in June, the health authorities declared the end of the worst ever outbreak of the virus in the country in 3 northern eastern provinces. We begin our coronavirus coverage in Ghana, where some 2,065 health workers have tested positive for COVID-19. That's the respiratory illness caused by coronavirus. According to the Ghana Health Service, the Director General Patrick Kuma Agbayi said 6 health workers who had been infected had died, but 1,870 others had recovered. The rest are receiving treatment at isolation centers. The Greater Accra region, which includes the capital city, has recorded the highest number of infections among health workers, and the authorities say they are providing more protective gear to health facilities to reduce the infections. The country has recorded about 26,000 cases of coronavirus and 139 deaths. Ghana has conducted over 300,000 COVID-19 tests. Well, joining us now is Roland Walker, Joy News TV correspondent, for more on this story. Hello, Roland. Thank you for speaking to us on Network Africa. What has been the reaction so far to this? Over 2,000 frontliners are now down with COVID-19.
It has been a massive reaction. I have to say that even before this announcement by the Ghana Health Service, we had the amalgamated various unions or associations of health workers coming to raise concerns about the number of their membership who are getting infected. So we had the Ghana Medical Association, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwifery Council, and then the other workers like the pharmacists, the laboratory technicians, the radiographers also raising concerns. It is also because we've had a number of fatalities among these medical workers, especially if you take the medical doctors and the nurses. Approximately, we have just around 5,000 number of medical workers, not those necessarily who are nurses, but those specifically who are practicing medicine, so the medical doctors. And we have just around 3,500 in excess practicing, and then the others who are into consultancy and some form of works. It is the nurses who are around 14,000 who are practicing. And if you look at the ratio of these medical workers against the population, 10,000 population we have, it is something that we have to be worried about. Initially, what had been intended by the medical association as well as the rest of the country was that we won't be overwhelmed with cases. But it looks like, look at 26,000 in excess number of cases that have been reported up to date, with some 52,000 recoveries. We'll say that somewhat the medical workers who occupy the various health facilities we have in Ghana seem to be overwhelmed, and that's a key concern for them.
And the Greater Accra region has seen, the highest number of infections among health workers. Is there a particular reason for this?
Well, the medical workers generally, if you look at the pattern of development, I'm sure even in Nigeria, everybody wants to practice in the main cities and the main towns. So that is why you have Greater Accra, which is more cosmopolitan, maybe with a population of 1/4 of what Lagos will be having, around 5 million, so to speak, the number of residents. So, and it's also because we have a lot of amenities. So, the population, the number of health workers practicing there, and also relating it to the number of cases that have been recorded so far, which usually are based in Greater Accra or Accra itself. I'm not surprised, and they are worried about it because even if Accra is having these number of cases, then they are wondering if it goes beyond the capital, then we could have some problems.
All right, and the health workers, no doubt, they are the heroes of this pandemic anywhere in the world. Is there any compensation from the Ghanaian government for these frontliners?
Yes, I have to say that they have been given some rebate taxes, but also income taxes that they're not going to pay. And they've also been given what they earn, that's the basic, the net of their basic, some 50% rebate. So they're getting 50% allowances as frontline workers. Initially, this had been a difficulty because when we started this whole initiative, the president had announced back in April, the intention was that as we started from April, May, June, when they would be enjoying this, it will be in relation to the number of cases that will be recorded. But now we've seen the cases transcend from the communities into the hospitals. So it means that this has to be recategorized as to who becomes a frontline worker in the health sector. So you could walk into a particular hospital, and because the cases are now being recorded more in the hospitals as well as in the communities, somebody who is even at the hospital gates now becomes a frontline worker. Somebody who is just a warden in the ward becomes a frontline worker. So this has been done for them. They haven't started implementing it yet, but they are enjoying 50%. If you have been identified as a frontline worker, and if you're not, you enjoy some 25%.
Oh, all right then, Roland Walker, Joy News TV correspondent. Thank you for speaking to us on Network Africa. An NGO in Abidjan has set up an intelligent hand-washing station at the entrance of one of the city's busiest markets in the municipality of Bingaville. It can tell you how much water is left in the tank, but most importantly, it counts how many people wash their hands, which is a valuable tool in the fight against coronavirus. Let's take a look in Côte d'Ivoire.
Outside the bustling Bingaville market in Ivory Coast capital Abidjan, people are queuing to wash their hands at a hand-washing station with a difference. But this one is what its owners call intelligent. Set up by NGO My Dream for Africa Foundation, the station has sensors that, for example, measure how much water there is in the tank. But the Swiss-funded Foundation Secretary General Sori Toure says there's another important application.
These hand-washing stations have specific characteristics. They are intelligent hand-washing stations. It means that there are digital sensors that tells us the quantity of water in the tank, which allows us to replenish the station when needed. It also tells us the number of people that wash their hands. That's really interesting because it allows us to study behaviors and to provide palliative solutions according to the actions of the population. How different populations behave in terms of hygiene is interesting to know in order to analyze and support population on that level.
Toure says the data will tell officials if people are following sanitary measures as the country battles the coronavirus pandemic, so they can redirect the message if it is not working. With more than 2,000 infections and dozens of cases reported daily, the West African country is yet to control the outbreak. Bingaville Mayor Yusuf Dombia said the market is the biggest in town, with around 500 people coming in and out each day, placing the hand-washing station at a strategic location. The NGO hopes to have the hand-washing stations available in all 10 of Abidjan's municipalities.
You're watching Network Africa on Channels Television. Still ahead on the program. Our Africa Tech segment discusses cybersecurity. How safe are you online? Please stay with us. Welcome to our Africa Tech segment. This week, Twitter witnessed a series of coordinated social engineering attacks by hackers. The attacks targeted the high-profile Twitter accounts, causing the social media platform to shut part of its services while investigating the problem. Now, some cyber-security experts believe the attacks emphasize the need to be wary of what we share on the internet, as even the most secured accounts can be hacked. Well, joining us now on the program is a cybersecurity expert, Habib Adebisi. Hello, Habib. Thank you for speaking to us on Africa Tech.
Hello, Channels Television. Thank you for having me.
Let me start by asking you, what is going on in the world cyberspace? Only yesterday, the unknown hackers held the Twitter sphere, seizing control of high-profile accounts, sending phony tweets. What is going on?
Yeah, it's a really interesting time in the cybersecurity space. Of course, you're right in the sense that this has been a hot conversation since it happened just yesterday, Wednesday, right? Yes. No, Wednesday, yes. This week, Wednesday. Yeah, it's quite interesting. So what is happening? What is happening is that people are beginning to see the full-on effect of social engineering, which is one of the various forms of cybersecurity attacks. You know, the way the media sometimes portray hackers is that one person who is sitting behind the keyboard furiously typing away and then says, I'm in, you know. But what the world do not realize is that, you know, sometimes you don't even have to be on a keyboard to hack someone. A simple text message, a simple email from a random person you don't know is enough, is all someone needs to get access to your device. And this is what we've always preached as cybersecurity experts, that people need to pay more attention to their security online. I guess, you know, for a lot of people in the world today, there's this narrative that, first of all, the internet is there and this is my personal life. So we're not together. It's not the same thing. What happens online cannot affect me physically. Then there's also that narrative where people believe that they are not important enough to be hacked. They're just a random, regular person going about their daily jobs, forgetting that they are connected in one way or the other to important people. So we always assume when we talk about being hacked or cybersecurity that you are the target. But oftentimes, the victim may not necessarily be the target. The victim is like the vehicle used to get to the target. And all of that is a summary of the interesting things that is happening today in the cyberspace. I must warn that, you know, this is just the beginning. You will see more like this happening. Today is Twitter. Tomorrow it could be another social media platform. It could be a whole company. You know, let's hope this doesn't happen, as we say. But for one, this is just the beginning.
All right. And this goes to show the vulnerability of the social media, isn't it?
No, it's not the vulnerability of the social media. It's the vulnerability of the people on social media. You see, any platform, any service, any company, any provider can have the best software and hardware cybersecurity services at its beck and call. Everything is working fine. Their firewalls, their network, everything is well secured. But we forget that the machines are operated by people. And that is what this attack on Twitter has shown. Twitter itself was not attacked. It was the people working in Twitter that was attacked. And not the kind of, you know, when you hear the word attack, it's not like the vicious or violent attack you would think about. It's simple social engineering attack, like receiving a text message asking for random information or something you had put out yourself some time ago on social media that you did not think could lead back to you. And then someone is asking you for something. In some cases, you could be coerced. The point is the human being here has been hacked, and the information the human being has provided is now being used in the main attack. That is what is happening. So the social media platforms, the services we use, they try their very best to make sure that these platforms are safe for people to use. But the question always remains: the person using it, how safe is that person using that platform?
All right, let's talk about safety now. So what should people do to prevent hacking and keep their details, their information safe?
All right. I would answer the question this way because this is another interesting narrative. It should be, what do you do to reduce the possibility of this happening? Prevention, because the thing is, there's no absolute security. There is no almighty security. Every security can be breached. What you should all strive to do is, how do you reduce it to the barest minimum? There's a term, oversharing is overcaring. We should take cognizance, we should be conscious of what we share and how we share it. That picture you're about to post online, take it up, ask yourself, should I share it? If I must share it, should I share it right now? These are the kind of things you need to think about when you're at an event and you are excited to let people know where you are. Do you need to do that right away at the moment? Can you do it the next day? Maybe. Certain information you post, ask yourself, can this information be traced back in a negative light? These are the ways you secure and prevent, or rather, protect yourself from being attacked. Again, we should also remember that we are not necessarily the victim here. You work in a company, you have access to information. That is enough to make you a victim of an attack. So you should always be careful of your interactions online. When you receive messages from friends, from strangers, double check. When that message is asking for something, if you can call the person requesting, why not place a call to confirm that? Are you the one asking me for this? Another thing is, never allow anyone to hold a secret over you, especially on the internet, such that you are now under pressure to do what you're not supposed to do. It's always better to be the one to voice out before you're blackmailed. I remember a case, just to say this briefly. A Nigerian celebrity was about to be blackmailed by a guy who was sharing, who claimed he had her nude photos. You know what the celebrity did? She came online and put the photos out herself and said, in case someone were to tell you that they have my nude pictures, this is the pictures they're talking about, and it is not me. So please disregard any message. That's a very smart way. The person knows that someone is going to try to blackmail, maybe not her, maybe someone close to her tomorrow, to say, oh, we have pictures of this person and this person is naked and we're going to release it. Send us some money and we don't. And this is how that person's security will be breached, and it can lead to even more deadly attacks. So these are just one of several things. Of course, we cannot forget the fact of using strong passwords on all our social media accounts, and do not use the same password on all social media accounts. It's very, very important that we say this. Do not use the same password on two platforms. Always
Thank
modify
you.
it.
All right, Habib Adebisi, thank you so much. It has really been enlightening. Cybersecurity expert Habib Adebisi, thank you for speaking to us on the program.
Thank you for having me as well.
And that's where we end Network Africa today and for the week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke. Have a great weekend.